Okay, so lesson 4. These thoughts do not mean anything. Lesson 4 from A Course in Miracles. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things that I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place. Unlike the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice periods, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute, and then apply the idea to them. If you're already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find that if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that in a sense none of them can be called good or bad. And that is why they don't mean anything. In selecting the subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represent your real thoughts, which are being covered by them. The good ones are shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. So this is really interesting because it says, our good thoughts and our bad thoughts, we don't know which are good or bad and they're both equal, really. They're both neutral. Because our good thoughts are only shadows of what God could want for us. Our good thoughts, our best thought is still graveling for breadcrumbs. We're still we're still underestimating God in our very best thoughts. That's what it means. And that's kind of cool. This is a major exercise. It will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different forms. The aim here is to train you in the first step towards the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaning as outside yourself and the meaningful within. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize that what is the same and what is different. In using your thoughts for application of the idea for today, identify each thought by the central figure or event it contains. For example, the thoughts about my job does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room, on the street, and so on. You can also use the idea for a particular thought that you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but is not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercise. Do not, however, examine your mind for more than a minute or so. You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. Further, since these exercises are the first of their kind, you may find the suspicion of judgment in connection with the thoughts particularly difficult. Do not repeat these exercises more than 3 or 4 times during the day. We will return to them later. So again, in these exercises, we notice that Jesus is trying to make it really easy for us to digest them. It's saying, just take it easy with them, just apply them, that there might be a tendency to become suspicious, there might be a tendency to become preoccupied, but just let them do the work. Just say these thoughts do not mean anything. And basically what we're getting to is that I don't really know anything. And our ego does not want to know that. But that is really the place of peace. When we come to any person, place, or thing saying, I know this, I got this, I understand this completely, we're actually coming with a shut down mind. But when we come to any person, place, or thing with, I have no idea what this is for, I'm suspecting that it's for my highest good. You probably have something lesson for me or some blessing for me. That's the only 2 things that can happen here. Then we can fully embody this lesson. But to begin, we just begin with the first step is, I don't know what these thoughts are for. These thoughts about blah, 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 blah don't mean anything. I can sit here and think and think and think and try and solve the problem at the level of the problem, but eventually it doesn't matter. These thoughts that I think about this don't mean anything. And I'm willing today to surrender all of my best thinking to the thinking of God.
It's not that unusual.
Quite refreshing.
Everything is beautiful.
Have a great day. God bless.
It's just another